Okay, I think we have a quorum, or it looks like we will have a quorum. We won't know for sure until we do roll call. So I'll call the meeting to order. This is Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission. It's August 18th. We have a roll call.
And I hope you all can hear me. Can you?
We can.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Bill Brown,
Here.
Annie Adams,
Present.
Shannon Baranek,
Here.
Leonardo Kovas, he said he was going to be absent. Kara Dudek,
Here.
Cynthia Hoyle,
Here.
Audrey Ishii,
Here.
Susan Jones,
Here.
Jeff Marino,
Here.
Sartak Prasad,
Present.
Nancy Westcott. Nancy?
Don't see her.
Okay. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. I was kind of optimistic about having Vision Zero ready, but wasn't able to get together with people over the weekend. So I'll have a little update on that, but then it's going to add a little discussion on bicycle detection at light intersections, at lighted intersections. On Facebook, and just I took out the page from our bicycle master plan to kind of show what the priorities were, so we can just go over that and talk a little bit about bicycle detection at intersection. So if nobody minds, we could add that to the agenda. Any other changes in the agenda? Is there a motion for approving the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second that.
Moved by Sue and seconded by Annie. Guess we need to do a roll call.
Second, sorry. Bill Brown,
Yes.
Annie Adams,
Yes.
Shannon Baranek.
Yes.
I guess I only call the people who are present, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Kara Dudek,
Yes.
Cynthia Hoyle,
Yes.
Audrey Ishii,
Yes.
Susan Jones. Susan,
Yes.
Jeff Marino,
Yes.
Sartak Prasad,
Present.
Nancy Westcott. Did she come? Okay. The ayes have it.
Okay. And then we had one set of minutes to approve. There was one correction addition to the minutes. I don't know if everybody caught that. Just it was a sentence to insert to be sure it was recorded in the minutes that BPAC was disappointed that we weren't consulted in the mine intersection report. Is that what it was phrased, how it was phrased? Something like that.
I said commission members expressed surprise that the study was not brought to BPAC for input prior to final submission to the city council.
Okay, thanks. Any other changes or corrections? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
This is moved by Audrey and seconded by Sue. Any other discussion on that? If not, then we'll have a roll call.
Bill Brown,
Yes.
Annie Adams,
Yes.
Shannon Baranek,
Yes.
Kara Dudek,
Yes.
Cynthia Hoyle,
Yes.
Audrey Ishii,
Yes.
Susan Jones,
Yes.
Jeff Marino,
Yes.
Sarsak Prasad.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thanks. So let's see, public input. Do we have anyone here from the public that would like to speak? I think we're all panelists except for Shannon's phone, so I don't see any public. I should open up the other laptop so I don't have to keep switching back and forth. Okay, so the first on our new business then is Vine Main intersection report. Do you want me to pull that up and just kind of scroll through it? I see some heads nodding. Okay. Justin is here to kind of fill us in. Do you want to present it at all, Justin, or should we just start kind of going through it?
Yeah, I didn't have much of a presentation prepared. I wanted to be here, be available, and Shannon's here too for questions and just to discuss the report. I guess I will say that we didn't, or I guess the purpose of this report was to provide a third-party independent review of the safety aspects or any deficiencies of this intersection, partially as a result of the fatality that occurred last year. And so that's what we hired Fairgram to do and provide a report. We really want that to stand on its own, and that's why it was taken directly to City Council. It's not something that was voted on or approved by Council, and we're certainly prepared to have any discussion about it and try our best to answer any questions. But again, we just, the purpose here was to provide a study of the intersection and really even keep it independent of any specific incident, and have Fairgram take a look at the geometry and the signal timing and those things. So as you'll see, there are some things that they identified that could be changed in future projects. And as with, I'm sure, any intersection, there are improvements that can be made. So, those are always things we consider moving forward.
Okay, thanks. I think I will. I pulled up some, the CCGIS map shows several years. There's been a lot of changes at the intersection, so I think it might be good just to, I can flip through about five years here, 5 different time periods, over a period of about 50 years. And you can see how the intersection has changed. Yeah,
one other thing is hopefully everyone got a chance to see or watch the presentation at Council on May 26th, but they did kind of a walkthrough. Roland and Noah from Fairgram did a walkthrough of the history of the intersection. So that that video does a pretty nice job of that, and they have some pictures that they pulled up from probably the same place there. So
yeah. Yeah, I remembered that. I couldn't remember if it was in the report, so I went through the report again and I noticed that it wasn't. So
okay.
And can you see that yet?
Yep.
Okay, let me zoom in a little bit more.
I know they did use the data from this because I helped provide the city's historical records on this intersection using some of these photos as a guideline. So it is in the report, even if it's not specifically page by page.
Yeah, I think during the meeting, they actually did go through the, let's see. Yeah, they did go through some of these historic pictures. Get rid of some of the there we go. Okay, so that is pretty much present day. I have 2014 up there, I think, just because you can see the lines a little bit better. Let me zoom in just a little bit more if I can. Okay, so yeah, you have, Can't really see the bike lanes very good.
That's university.
Oh, that's the problem. I had the wrong intersection. Thanks. One more. There we go. That looks better. Okay. Yeah, I think 2014 shows the lines a little bit better. So that was the most recent update. We have one lane in each direction with the right turn lane, left turn lane, bike lane, clear through. That was somewhere between 2011 and 2014 that was finished. 2011, we had bike lane on this side, but then on this side we still had 2 lanes of traffic. So the bike lane disappeared. It didn't go downtown yet. So you had 2 lanes westbound, 1 lane eastbound, turn lanes on both directions there. And in 2005, didn't have any bike lanes. Still had 2 lanes, or then we did have 2 lanes coming from both directions and going both directions. And there you saw that the painted curb extension disappeared. So maybe I should be going the other direction. So older to newer, we can go back that way. That was 88, 2 lanes both directions, no right turn lane here. That's where this got really widened, was after 88. And then 73, I'm not even sure if there was a light there. It looks like there might have just been stop signs there, but it was 4 lanes, basically both directions, no turn lanes. So now we can go back forward. 88. I think the big change there was the turn lanes. Yeah, another turn lane. And the bike lanes and the curb extension here. I think the one difference between 2011 and 2014, another one was this striped area here by Schnucks, that coming out of the Schnucks lot. For some reason they added that. I guess maybe might prevent conflicts from people trying to turn right too soon, or coming out of Schnucks and not making it across the bike lane in time, something like that. They'd have too much time to decide which lane to be in there. So I imagine they added that for that reason. So anyway, there's been a lot of changes there. Just kind of wanted to show that. And then we can, let's see, I think I need to stop sharing that one. I'll pull up the actual report.
Bill, while you're bringing that up, can I ask a question? How did
Yeah.
you guys select Fair Graham to do the study?
They were our existing
yeah.
supplemental engineers.
What was that?
They were the existing supplemental engineers. They have a contract with the city.
Oh, okay. So it's just an ongoing contract. Okay.
Yeah, I think the report is very good, given apparently what they were asked to present. I think that BPAC was surprised that and displeased that we weren't consulted in any way, since we are the people who are appointed to advise the city about pedestrian and bicycle issues. And given the fatality that occurred here and the public concern expressed about it, it would seem that it would be quite logical to ask this group for some input. It's fine to have this report be independent. But we didn't even know it had been presented. It would have been helpful for us to know that the report had been completed and to see it. And so I think that's why I added in, there was significant discussion on this issue that's not in the minutes, but that's why I wanted to add at least one sentence to flag the fact that the people who give many hours monthly to try and improve pedestrian and bicycle safety in our community feel that their work is not being utilized properly when we're not even asked to look at very important and life-saving issues. The other thing I was going to say is in the report, I found it very interesting that in Exhibit 7, they were asked to look at ProWag, IDOT ProWag standards, and there were a couple of things in there. And in Exhibit 7 has a picture of a protected intersection, but with absolutely no commentary. I think it would be quite beneficial for the community to look at narrowing the stretch of line in front of City Hall down to one lane each direction and putting something like a protected intersection in here. I remember vividly when I moved here in 2001, I was really quite dumbfounded to find that Main Street was 2 lanes until you got to the 2 blocks in downtown where all the pedestrians were, and then it switched to 4 lanes, and then it went back. And so people gunned their cars to go as fast as possible through the 2 blocks where all the pedestrians were crossing the street in front of the courthouse and downtown. And I remember telling city staff at the time, I said, you guys need to look at doing a road diet down there. And they asked me why. And I said, well, the street works really well if your goal is to move traffic as fast as possible through downtown. If you want people to get out of their cars and shop and do the things that people do in a downtown that make it prosperous, then you need to reduce the number of lanes and make crossing the road easier. So we've made some progress towards that goal in that time period, in the last 20 years, basically. And I think we need to continue making progress. And this intersection, I feel, needs more than what is being proposed in this study to improve its safety. I think what's proposed will certainly be beneficial. And I understand the city certainly dealing with financial constraints right now. But I also think that if we were willing to expend some effort and creativity towards creating a design that brought in some additional safety features and have that design ready and apply for funding that comes out, which right now, you know, there was grant funding available. Since we've had a fatality there, we would be much more likely to get funding to redesign the intersection. That's how we got Goodwin on campus redesign. That's how we got Main Street redesign, as we had staff in Public Works who took it upon themselves to do some really progressive redesign, submit grant applications, and that's one of the ways that we have gotten some of the really good improvements that we have seen. So that is why I think the commission was concerned, and we asked to take a look at what was recommended, and these will certainly be improvements, but I think all of us feel that more could be done to improve safety at this intersection.
I just want to jump in and reiterate something Justin had mentioned and Fair Graham had mentioned. That's not what this study was for. This was a very specific look at the safety of this intersection. It was not a redesign study. It was not come up with ideas study. It was,
I understand that.
It was a very targeted study, and this was requested even back while Craig Shonkwai was still here. So, I mean, we did do what was required and asked of this. It was not, at the time, it was not to do, what can we do to make this the biggest, brightest intersection? We can do that in the future. I mean, it's something we can keep in mind, but this, that is not what this report was for.
And I understand that, Shannon, and thank you for reiterating that. I think given what was asked for, the study does exactly what was asked for, and that came from the city council. This was not driven by staff. But what I'm suggesting is that I think that there's an opportunity here for us to do more. And I understand part of the reason why that's not happening is because we are so short-staffed. But I think it's a real missed opportunity. This is how in the past Urbana got the grant funding and did the very progressive things that put us on the map. They got us where we are today, but we have lost momentum.
I think I just add a couple things there. It was the mayor's initiative to have the intersection study done, and I think it was out of concern after that accident, if there was some kind of design deficiency, wanted to know right away and be able to fix the design deficiency. You know, that was the primary direction as far as I remember. And when it came out on the Friday, or when council became aware that it was finished on the Friday before the Monday meeting, at the time we were being swamped with letters about saving trees on Green Street and everything else. And it was a 3-hour meeting anyway. But in retrospect, it would have been good to at least invite BPAC to attend the council meeting as co-panelists and be able to discuss the report at the same time as council. That probably would have been the best way to handle that. But you know, hindsight is 2020. But going forward, we have the report now, and I think it at least provides a starting place for some of the things that you started talking about. So there's nothing to prevent us from continuing to, examine that and use this as, a launching point. It's better than having nothing. At least it gives us a starting point for the discussion. And as in all of our discussions on, major improvements, there's always a trade-off, if you want to put $1 million into this intersection rather than, do some safety improvements on 3 or 4 intersections, there's a trade-off. So that's something we all have to kind of keep in mind too. So I guess let's just kind of go through the conclusions a little bit, and then we can back up and look at exhibits. It's kind of a small screen, sorry. Okay. So there's a few variances in current geometry from the reference standards. So the taper rates, that's how fast the turn lanes widen and how long they are basically. They don't meet the minimum length in at least 2 directions. So northbound left turn lane on Vine Street and the westbound left turn lane on Main Street. And then the storage length for both those lanes also didn't meet minimum. I did notice that in the report, they said that the speed limit on Vine Street was 35, and I asked if it would help to reduce it to 30, but then I looked today and it's already 30. So that would reduce some of those by a little bit, but they're still deficient. Corner islands for the large radii by Starbucks there. That was kind of a little longer term improvement. The main thing they suggested was to adjust the pedestrian timing. I think was that done, Shannon?
Yeah, we already had city electricians go out and make sure everything was right and adjust them. So.
Okay. So the pedestrian signal timing at the north crosswalk needed to be increased. Pedestrian push button placement are too close together.
Is there a reason why we haven't put the pedestrian lead signal timing into this intersection, since that has been done all along University and has been done throughout downtown Champaign, for example?
If there is a reason, it probably left the city with Craig's brain. So I honestly can't speak to what may or may not have been considered for it.
The cities, I mean, we're due to do kind of an audit of our signal timing citywide as well, as part of a larger project for traffic signal improvements and modernization, because we haven't really modernized our many of our traffic signals since they've been installed throughout the city. So that's certainly something that would be considered as part of that project, is the leading pedestrian interval.
Cynthia, do you know if the Champaign did that for all pedestrian crossings, or did they look at a certain level of pedestrian use or something? Was there some kind of criteria?
They've done it along Green Street and they did it in downtown.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the standard that they try to do when they rebuild an intersection, they try to include that when they can. So any intersection, so yeah, the downtown and campus town have had projects done where they have rebuilt the intersections and then included those lead timing components.
Like at First and Windsor, I see a pedestrian there about twice a year. They probably wouldn't do it there, would they?
No.
Okay.
No, well, that's an interesting one, because they would like to rebuild that intersection, just because if eastbound and westbound have those, I forget what they call it when the left turn lanes are, the timing is off, but to make it to meet the MUTC standard would be, it's astronomically expensive, in that just hasn't gotten project hasn't been put in the CIP to address it. So it's one of those, there's other intersections around town where there's a signal, there's a signal that's just needed. And yeah, so I think there's some up on North Prospect on Town Center Boulevard maybe, but I don't know the locations off the top of my head.
I guess the other question I have, I guess one of the reasons, again, that BPAC was upset was, we followed this on social media. We saw the outrage of the neighbors. We saw the outrage of the neighborhood. We read post after post after post after post after post of person being upset that they were almost killed at this intersection. I was almost killed at this intersection. So when someone is killed, it's because we've all had a lot of near misses at this intersection. So so that's why it's so personal to all of us who are frequently at this intersection. I drive through this intersection, I walk through it, I bike through it. And like someone made a comment at the beginning was, I know it's safer to cross over by the courthouse. And so that's where I cross, because I know that it's dangerous, because I'm on BPAC, to actually use the crosswalk at that intersection. Now, the one thing that person after person after person kept saying, and what would have stopped my near miss, would have been a no turn on red. And I understand that this study here that we're looking at is not about the death of Shelley E. Taylor and James P. Dixon, who made the turn. And I understand that's not what this study is about. So I would like to maybe open this discussion up that will not cost $1 million to put a no turn on red there. And I would just like to just enter that into the discussion, because I think it would remove one more decision. When I drive through that intersection, there's, in my opinion, far too many choices. And there's far too many ways that pedestrians and cyclists can interact with vehicles. And I also actually do see a lot of people at Windsor and First.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into suggesting specific changes. I mean, maybe as throwing them out as suggestions, but really it would take probably a little bit more in-depth study to see which ones work together. Some of the other things that came up in our council discussion was extending the curb to actually, fill out where the paint is, bring the curb out. Same thing on the north side. Make that curb bigger instead of adding one of the suggestions was to add the island there. So I think we need to probably get across that that engineering shouldn't let this intersection lie, that there's still a lot of work to do on it. And to keep it as high a priority as possible. I mean, it is heavily used by pedestrians and cyclists and everybody.
And I'd like to add, Bill, when you look at that GIS map that you showed, there has been, I don't know if a sidewalk was added, but obviously all of that infrastructure got bumped out in that time. That's very pedestrian friendly. You know, someone just wants to cross the street to get to the Starbucks. Someone wants to, there are no sidewalks throughout that entire intersection, but I have often biked and walked to Schnucks. And so Schnucks doesn't have, you know, that, but there are pedestrians constantly crossing that whole area. There's pedestrians constantly trying to negotiate that whole intersection. So it's just, to me, it's really just about equity of public spaces. And, you know, it's about public safety, public health, and equity of public spaces.
Yeah, you know, they did add that island in front of the courthouse about 5 years ago. So it seemed like the strategy might have been to encourage people to cross at different places rather than the intersection. Cross in front of the courthouse. The other crosswalk, marked crosswalk, is by Schnucks coming up Urbana Street. I think it's Urbana. Yeah.
Well, the left turn that he made, it seems pretty clear that he was looking down the road, trying to see if he could make that left turn on that green. Whereas another cost-free thing would be to have it be left turn on arrow only. I mean, he
did turn left on the green
and was totally surprised by a pedestrian in the crosswalk where she should be, but there was just too many things for him to watch. He's coming up the hill, probably, you know, accelerating a little bit to get up the hill or in an acceleration mode, looking down Main Street, and just too many things to see. Whereas if he was, it's called a protected left when you can turn left only on the arrow. I think that that's something to look at too.
He did have the protected green.
He turned on a left arrow,
Yes.
so he wasn't having to worry that someone was going to be in his traffic on the street.
Wait, there's no pedestrian signal during a protected left arrow. If there is, that is really a big error.
There wasn't a pedestrian signal if she turned on the green arrow.
My understanding was he was turning left green yield, not on a protected arrow.
I don't know that the police report for this incident has been released, so we shouldn't necessarily speculate on what the circumstances were of the accident. We did share this report with the police department, and they did provide input that none of the 7 items that are recommended here in the conclusions, there were no deficiencies or issues with the design of the intersection that contributed to the accident.
Unless you have video, without video, it'd also be pretty hard to prove. It'd be mostly just witnesses.
Right, and there also would not have been a conflict with the pedestrian signal on a left green arrow.
I know.
The signals wouldn't have worked that way.
Exactly.
I was hit there, not in any kind of major way, and it was the same exact deal. The poor guy was watching for traffic, and did not see me getting ready, sitting there, and clocked me. I saw him come and got out of the way, so I didn't get hurt. But yeah, it's a crazy intersection.
So if, this study was just to look for deficiencies, basically. The next step, would that be like a safety study that we could apply for a ITEP grant for, like we've done safety studies on South Lincoln or North Lincoln?
Likely not ITEP, possibly HSIP, but right now I believe our focus with RPC is on the Florida improvements, but it is something you could probably do an HSIP grant with as opposed to ITEP.
Right.
Yeah.
HSIP,
Yes.
I guess is what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So citywide, we do have a lot of safety issues, and CUATS and RPC, they have identified intersections throughout the city that do present some safety issues, and that's based on crash data, and so that's typically our focus for some of these programs. And the HSIP, like Shane said, is going to be a main component of the Florida Avenue that corridor reconstruction. And then we also have some studies to do for Lincoln Avenue and how we can improve safety there. And, those are some areas that are heavily used by pedestrians. So, those are also approaches we can take here, but this intersection wasn't really something that was on our radar from a safety standpoint until this accident occurred, because the intersection hasn't been identified based on the crash data or any safety issues. And the report did, for the most part, find that there are no inherently unsafe components of this intersection. It's a busy intersection.
Okay.
I have a question along those lines. For number 1 and number 2, it's talking about increasing the storage capacity of the northbound and southbound lanes. I was wondering, how does that improve the safety? And then kind of along those lines, and maybe it goes to what Annie was getting at, the MUTCD or MUTC, it's geared towards safety for automobiles, but how about I think there's been some criticism over time about safety for pedestrians that are baked into that.
I think there was part of the conclusions was that there wasn't enough storage capacity, but I don't think they really raised that. I mean, they basically said there isn't much you can do about that. Isn't that right, Justin? I mean, they didn't raise that as something to try to improve or anything.
Right. It's a function of the kind of how a busy intersection being crammed into an urban, a fairly dense area, and the way that it contributes to some, or can contribute to safety issues is just the congestion that it causes. If there's less storage for a left turn, then that might cause traffic to back up a little bit further if there are a lot of people wanting to make a left turn and others that can't get around them, or and then just congestion in general leads to unsafe or can lead to unsafe conditions. But there's not a whole lot that can be changed about that given the geometry of
that was
all
more identified as a why it doesn't fit standards. Like one of their tasks was to see like standards over the years, how they changed, and like the taper or the storage capacity just wasn't something that fit the standards. But as Justin said, being in the middle of a town, there are limitations. So
Now, but what I think, the fact that it wasn't on anybody's radar, this is where if you talked to us, we would have put it on your radar because we know it's dangerous.
I'm going to kick that one back to City Council.
Nancy has her hand raised. Can you unmute, Nancy? I can't see you. Are you there?
A host can click on and say, ask to unmute, and they can click on that and it will unmute.
I don't even see her because I'm sharing my screen. Maybe I need to stop sharing. I think we've seen what we want to see. Looks like
there she is. Yeah. You should be able to unmute her.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
yes.
We can.
Yes.
Sorry, I am well, at any rate, the one thing I wanted to point out is that there is that new apartment complex going up that's 1 block away, and there are going to be people that are going to be wanting to cross both.
Yep. Uh-oh, she muted herself again. Can you unmute her, Bill?
Just say ask to unmute and she can click on it.
I unmuted, I think.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so there's going to be that new apartment complex going up with people wanting to go both to downtown and to Schnucks. And I just think that that is really just a tricky intersection for pedestrians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to add there are places with a lot more congestion than we have that are designing intersections to improve safety for pedestrians. You can look at what the work they're doing in Chicago and in New York City and other places. There are ways to improve the safety of the intersection. for pedestrians. And if we are going to call ourselves a bicycle and pedestrian community, we need to follow through on that by prioritizing the safety of those modes. And I think the fact that people feel it is not safe, even though it may meet current standards, is saying something. The public has expressed their concern. People have been killed. And I think it is incumbent upon our elected officials to take action that responds to the public's actual concerns, which are that they don't feel safe at the intersection.
And also, I mean, I'd just really like to add that congestion creates safer streets. It is a proven scientific fact. Congestion creates safer streets. The slower a car is moving, the more a vehicle has to stop, the safer the street is. And I'm tired of mythology of if a car has to wait through 2 traffic signals, they become crazy and start wanting to hit pedestrians and cyclists. That is not true. That is not a fact. That is not science. And I'm tired of it.
Yes, I think there's different kinds of congestion. There's kind of the predictable kind. When you go down Green Street, you know it's going to be slow and you slow down. And then there's the unpredictable kind where, you know, you're used to going 35 miles per hour through an intersection and all of a sudden it's blocked. And so there's different kinds, I think. But that's
yes, and people going down Main Street should not be going 35 miles an hour.
No. I wonder if there's some way to use this to be more involved in the capital improvement plan priority process. That's something that not even the city council really has a lot of input on until it's proposed and then they vote on it. Justin, do you know?
That would be great. Mm-hmm.
Justin, if you guys can think about it and maybe figure out a way that might involve BPAC a little bit more in some of the, I guess, I mean, for the HSIP grants, it seems like RPC and is heavily involved, and but you know, if there's a lot of needs that go beyond the grants, then it's going to have to come out of capital improvement plan. So then that's going to have to be something that the council's going to have to prioritize. But in order for them to do that, I think BPAC would have to weigh in pretty heavily and advocate for, you know, some of those things. So
yeah,
I just kind of threw that out. Do you have any ideas for that, Justin?
Yeah, I think there's certainly an opportunity. I mean, we saw a change with the capital improvement plan this year in the way that we put it together, really, or just the way it's structured for the plan and the report itself. And, you know, that's the first step in kind of revamping that and trying to work not just more people into it, but even internally to bring staff together better on making some of those, or coming up with some of those plans and how we maintain our infrastructure moving forward, and then what improvements we can make. So I think there will certainly be opportunity for that moving forward. And, you know, the thing that capital improvement plan does include is at least 5 years of worth of planning. So if there's anything that shows up on that or doesn't show up on that in those 5 years, then there's always some time for discussion. It's really just the projects that we have planned for the next fiscal year that or that are already in the planning stages that you know, we've already kind of scoped out and determined what improvements we're going to do. So again, outside of that, you know, everything's up for discussion, and it's just, I think it would certainly help to have people involved in that decision-making process, because everything costs money, and, you know, we are kind of constrained by those financial limits, and there is grant funding available, and you know, we do our best to take advantage of that. We've got ITEP grants available, or applications being accepted now, and so those are all things that we're aware of and we're going to consider moving forward. We just need to figure out how best to work all those things together while using our funds to maintain the infrastructure we do have, because it's you know, that itself is a huge task and an expensive one. So there's a lot of balancing to be done there, but we can certainly involve as many people in the conversation as possible.
Yeah, thanks. Let's keep that in mind. for this report, are there specific questions about some of the findings or recommendations, the slopes and things that they mentioned? Any questions anybody has while we have engineering stuff here that know the answers?
I think I would just like to kind of re-echo what Annie said and how, like, reducing congestion, you know, like reducing this, like the stuff that where it's a congested intersection, that's safety should be a higher priority than that.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm not going to argue the point. I think what Justin was referring to was if you have a sudden, you know, car sticking out in the lane, that kind of congestion.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
that's safe for anybody. But I think in general, we all agree that you know, slowing speeds is a good thing.
I mean, just like if anyone's looking at what's happening in our current traffic situation, because there are less people driving cars, we have more car accidents, more people dying in cars, and it's because they're not driving on quote unquote congested streets. They're not having the perception of risk that they need to be moving the you know, multiple ton vehicles that they're moving. It's not cyclists, you know, I can't say this enough. It's not cyclists killing people. It's not pedestrians killing people. We know what the problem is, and we know what we have to make safer.
Like, I will say that it is tricky because you are accelerating going up that hill, going south on Vine Street. That is a tricky one to resolve, I think.
Yeah, the visibility was a little poor there too, partly because of the hill. I guess mostly because of the hill, but also, I don't know if there's any visual. Wasn't that one of the things in the report? I think the visibility from the right turn from street south, I think was one of the areas where the visibility was poor, probably partly because of that rise.
Well, you know, another problem is you're coming off of University Avenue. You're going down that hill, you're going up a hill. There are pedestrians always trying to cross from Schnucks to across to like where the paint store is. So a real simple solution is you put a pedestrian island there. You make sure cars, when they come down the hill under the railroad tracks, they have to slow down. And then they have to slow down going up that little bit of a hill. But that would inconvenience vehicular traffic. But that's a real obvious one because people are always crossing that intersection. When you go down Main Street, you drive your car down, you always see people running across that street, trying to get across that street. So it would be a similar thing that we did in front of the courthouse, but we would be doing it on Main Street. And then it would just slow down traffic. It would just kind of create more of a smoothing effect. But that's, you know, that costs more than no turn on red signs.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things where we'll need like 2 or 3 options with costs or something and try to optimize the safety for the money. But it does seem like at least some kind of curb bump outs in that island. Something like that would be kind of a first, kind of lowest common denominator, something like that. Okay, I think we need to probably move on from that topic. Any other final thoughts or questions on that one? Okay.
I just want to thank, though, Justin and Shannon. We appreciate you being here and listening to all this. We know it's hard to hear, but we also it's hard for us because we hear it from all sorts of other people all the time. So it's just we're just frustrated. So, and I'm sure you are too. But I just wanted to thank you very much for your time.
Yep, I'll second that. Next we have the outdoor seating requirements. Lily and Shannon, were you going to talk about that a little bit? The new requirements?
Yeah. I've got what I think is going to be a brief presentation on outdoor seating requirements and what we've been doing currently. Can you share that screen?
I want to say I'm really, really sad we don't have Curbanas right now.
Yeah. We're doing everything that we really can, but yeah.
We also found the blue bike rack. The blue bike rack isn't even in downtown right now.
Yeah, actually, I think I heard something about that. Well, we'll get to that with some questions. So outdoor seating requirements. So when everything, as we entered into another phase where we were allowed to have outdoor seating, some businesses expressed that they were really interested in implementing this, and the city made exhaustive efforts for outreach. Every known business owner, every liquor license holder was contacted. And we really asked what we could do to help try to make this a reality while following health guidelines and making sure it's as safe as possible. So we, through a lot of engagement, we started a permit creation, which I like to call the Permit Olympics. It was all done in a week, which was pretty amazing. Lots of people, many different teams, and a couple times where it was rewritten, but it was all came together. And a little bit about that. We have 2 permits right now in Urbana. So we've got the outdoor seating permit, and we've had the sidewalk permit. The outdoor seating permit, it applies to public property and private property. The sidewalk permit is really to sell on public sidewalks. The outdoor seating permit, both of them, they don't have a fee. They don't have an end date. We just really don't have a crystal ball to know what that end date would be, and no one needs an extra fee on top of everything that everybody's going through right now just to operate a business. So we had numerous people who have gone through this in businesses. What we ended up settling on was really everything that we can do to ensure that the IDPH guidelines are being followed. So reviewing a permit process where we ask tons of questions, go out and visit the site, get sketches and drawn up plans. We do require a couple of insurance and liability items. But we for the most part made this as streamlined as possible. You have a team of people across the city who will be reviewing the permit and getting back to you as fast as possible. One of those things that's maybe not health related, but it's under safety related, is if you have an outdoor seating permit, like Culver's or El Toro, we do require barricades, for instance. If they're building it out next to where cars are driving through the parking lot, there's got to be some kind of physical barrier that's obvious to someone who's trying to find parking. Currently, we don't have any usage of public streets, and it's not necessarily by design. I think we've talked to several people, businesses, about a potential of public streets, but that it usually falls to the wayside just merely because of resources from local businesses and being able to manage that. We've actually had a lot of permit applicants who have eventually said, maybe I just want to do carry out right now because there's extra staff that's generally they feel is needed, and there's extra equipment. So we don't have any public streets that are being used for outdoor seating currently. This is not a full list of current permit holders, but it's a pretty darn good one. We've got downtown permit holders. We've also got other parts of Urbana. A lot of downtown needed outdoor seating and really wanted it to, as it's a pedestrian friendly area, good place to grab a bite to eat. And then we've got places that have their own parking lot, or they had certain situations where they just had the space to be able to do outdoor seating, and so they're permit holders. We also have sidewalk permit holders. There are 3 that I was able to collect. Some of them are actually really creative. Art Coop has been doing all sorts of things to stay innovative and keep busy during this time and still sell. So they're going to be utilizing their vestibule space. H2O actually has 2 salon chairs out on the sidewalk for hair cutting. It's pretty interesting, very cool to see that people are really trying to get creative in how they approach this. Bluebird, of course, is also selling. A little bit about the outdoor seating requirements, what we've seen so far. It has been fairly difficult for many businesses to justify the outdoor seating space. There is no fee from the city for this, but there are so many extra expenses and a revenue shortfall for a lot of businesses that they've had. Some have just said, you know what, it's just bare bones staff and we're going to do carry out, and we don't have the capacity for this. And that's completely fine. We've been trying to be as flexible as possible with that and try to be as encouraging. So the staff time, equipment, and logistics, it's just been a large barrier for businesses. And we've actually had, which is, I think, really kind of amazing. Most businesses have been doing a really good job to help each other out. So, you know, there's maybe one or two noticeable exclusions from that, exceptions, but most businesses have been doing really a great job of sharing space in kind of a tricky situation. So, and so that's really outdoor seating requirements, what we've kind of put together.
I don't think you mentioned it. Is like on Gregory Place or Sadi's Confusion, is that regulated by Urbana or is that U of I?
Yeah, so the public area is all U of I space. So, but that does not include bread companies. So that's Urbana.
Okay.
So bread company, Espresso Royale.
So the bread company I know has sent some letters talking about the cycling use of sidewalks there, especially with the increased use of outdoor seating. And there is a bike lane there. So I understand the mayor is probably going to issue some kind of temporary emergency order to not allow cycling on that sidewalk. So I wanted to make sure people were aware of that. They've attempted to discourage cyclists from that area before, apparently, but people didn't get the message. So I suggested going back to the decal that we tried downtown a while back and saying, walk your wheels, dismount zone, please walk your wheels, something like that. So
I actually have one of those in the back of my engineering car. And one of the reasons it was removed because it's slippery. So we'd have to find an alternative because when it gets wet, it's slick. So.
Yeah, it would have to be painted on probably. So need to make a stencil out of that.
Bill, I think we ought to take a look at how Champaign put together their ordinance for no bikes on sidewalks, as this keeps coming up. And basically, you don't want bikes on sidewalks when you have no setback. You've got zero setback. And that means you've got doors opening onto the sidewalk and you've got very constrained space. And Urbana keeps struggling with this. You know, we had the issue with the bicyclists running into the door of the business at Goodwin and University. And it's because right now we just have it by geographic area, whereas if we expanded the ordinance to include you can't bike on sidewalks and locations, you know, with this kind of setback, we can look at the language Champaign had, then it gives us the ability to address those other areas where we're having these conflicts occur.
I want to jump in here. Part of what Bill referenced earlier with the mayor, I'm actually helping put together the write-up for extending our current bike ordinance to apply to the Goodwin and Bread Company Manolo's area to at least help temporarily till we can do a full-term implementation. So.
Good.
I would just like to say I have purchased food in downtown Champaign at 2 different restaurants and enjoyed using the Champaign Park District parklets that they have out there. The Champaign Park District has taken over a couple different parking spots, and you clean off. They basically have little umbrellas and you basically wash down the table before you sit there. And so someone puts out towels and some clean it, you know, just something to clean it off with. And it's your responsibility to clean it off before you sit down, clean it off when you're done eating. And so I've had multiple meals in downtown Champaign. I've also had meals in downtown St. Joseph's because they also have nice outdoor seating that I have availed myself to. And recently, when there was no electricity in my house for 24 hours, it would have been so great to be able to go to downtown Urbana and being able to purchase food to go and to sit outside and to be able to, you know, have internet connection and figure out like what to do. But so I am having a hard time with this idea that because in St. Joseph's, it is not the individual businesses that are doing this. Same with Champaign. Individual businesses are allowed to do these things and they can figure it all out, but it's actually an effort that's coming directly from the city. And I also did send an email to a bunch of people about the suburbs of Chicago that have also figured this out. And it's the cities that are putting up giant tents and they are putting up lights. And so people can get food from wherever they want, or they can just sit there and meet people and talk. And people right now really would just like to be outside and to be around other people and see people. So to me, it's just been very disappointing that downtown Urbana just looks like a racetrack, frankly, for vehicles at this point. There's, and I will pick up food to go. And I know that in the parking lots behind, you can have a beer, and that's really nice. So it's just disappointing to me that we haven't created a shared community space in downtown Urbana, that the city or the park district, that we haven't been able to come together and make something. It's just been disappointing to me. So
we did discuss it. I mean, Lily and I were in multiple many meetings where trying to find somewhere to put this. We did. I mean, believe me, as a city, we did investigate. We did not let it go by the wayside. We were just met with very little well accessible space, because like there's a parking lot next to Siam Terrace, which is not a great parking lot. It's not great for accessibility if you have wheels or a walker. And then the other options were very far away, like do you want to get your meal and walk 6 blocks? We did try to find areas, and we had a hard time locating any that would actually be enticing like how they are in downtown Champaign. Our geography is just terrible when it comes to that. I mean, we spent, I think, a good couple hours in various Zoom meetings trying to find somewhere.
Yeah, we did reach out to the park district, and it was in such a short notice that we weren't really able to nail down something concrete with them. But I have to say, one really big difference is that we have so many city-owned parking lots in Urbana. So we were able to utilize a lot of city-owned parking lots and kind of divvy that up for businesses who are willing to do it. So Bunny's, Rose Bowl really wanted to do that, where meanwhile some of the businesses that are also surrounded there could use the city-owned parking lots were a little less interested, and they did want to get the carryout thing, just merely because of staff and resources for them. So we have a lot more city-owned parking lots in such an area, like around some of those areas, and so we were able to kind of open those up to people.
Yeah, and I think that's great, Lily. I think what those of us who would like to go downtown and have some coffee or get some takeout food and sit down are looking for is something like the Urbana, and that really made downtown look attractive as a place people wanted to go and sit. When you drive through, you have no idea there are dozens of people sitting in the parking lot behind the restaurants or the bars. So it doesn't look like anybody's there. And so I think that's what people are responding to. We have those parking spaces on Main Street that could serve for seating space that wouldn't have to be staffed. I completely understand they don't want to have to staff waiting on people outside, but some of the spaces downtown were reserved for takeout, and some were, we could reinstitute the Urbanas. Those were really, really attractive addition to downtown Urbana, and I felt like downtown looked like a so much more inviting place when we had those spaces.
Yeah, the Urbanas, from an operations standpoint, because I discussed this with Vince Gustafson, the operations director. The Urbanas are great. They were a test pilot program. People loved them, but the year after year of installing and uninstalling has taken their toll on them. So reinstalling them this year just wasn't an option because they were not safe. I mean, safe is not a good word. You weren't going to hurt yourself, but they were not going to be level. They're going to be hard for accessibility, hard to get in. So it's something we have to revisit from an operations standpoint on building them. So.
And they only held up, how many years did we have them? 3 years?
I want to say 3.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like very long.
I miss
the Urbanas.
The way they're built is they're individual sections. So it's kind of like a temporary stage. So once those one section gets warped, it kind of throws the other sections out of kilter. So.
And I would just like to add, I think one of the issues that we have in downtown Urbana, and I do fear if we don't do anything, this will be the death of downtown Urbana. Bohemia, no one's going to shop at Bohemia because people would normally get a cup of coffee and then be like, oh yeah, let's go check this out. And oh yeah, let's go over here. because there's no street life right now. Downtown Urbana has no street life, but it's this idea of creating a public space that anyone from the age of 8 to 80 feels welcome, feels like they can be. It's a park space. It's a space that people feel they can sit and relax. It's very much the way Riggs has set up their outdoor space. It feels very welcoming, very simple. We know what the restrictions are when we go to Riggs. We understand like what we need to do. And so it's just, I mean, it's truly just disappointing that we've been unable to figure this out, whereas all sorts of other places have been able to figure it out. And it's disappointing. I got no other words. That's all.
We did talk to Bohemia, and they would like to, but they weren't able to put it together yet. And Riggs is a current permit holder.
What I'm saying is a space that's not just for Riggs or just for Bohemia. It's a space that everybody can be in, that anyone can be in. It's why the co-op's front porch is so successful. The co-op's front porch allows anyone to just come there, sit, have a drink. It's a covered space. You can get food to go, or you can just like wait for people there. You don't have to buy something to sit on the co-op front porch. So the co-op front porch right now is acting as our downtown space. We do not right now have a shared downtown space that anyone can just be in and hang out in. And yeah, so Bohemia could go through something and get a permit. And so, each individual business can go through and get a permit. That was one of my concerns with the Curbana originally, was there was a lot of fighting between businesses of that's mine. You can't eat pizza on that because that's mine. You have to buy beer to sit on the one in front of here, right? So that was actually my biggest concern with those Curbanas, is they were not public spaces. Those were private, it was a use of public space that had become privatized. So that is a concern, because it's not my understanding of how they were designed, but people were like, no, I paid for a permit for that, so don't eat your pizza out there. You're allowed to have a beer or coffee there. So it's, that was not perfect either.
Is the Lincoln Hotel parking lot a possibility?
That's private property currently.
Could some deal be made with that company if they're not using it in the fall? Because it doesn't sound like they'll be doing any building till next spring. And it would just be, as you say, to put a tent up and a couple picnic tables or something for anybody to use.
We did take a look at the Lincoln Hotel, and it was nixed for other reasons, but we can definitely take a look at that again.
I've liked the reuse of space, the city-owned parking lots, just because if you tried to make that an outdoor seating area during not a pandemic, people would have lost their minds because the parking was gone. But now it's like, oh, it's functioning well. I've been to the Bunnies one and the Rose Bowl one, and it's like sort of easing our community into
Well, there's still people losing their minds. Trust me, the minds are still being lost.
Yeah, for sure. I guess you won't get away from that, but it is, it is serving another purpose, and it is safe and distant, which I've appreciated about especially the Rose Bowl area. And I just think we're doing what we can in a crazy time, but I like the reuse.
And that's what concerns me with the Bread Co. I've enjoyed dinner at Bread Co. as well. I sound like I eat out all the time. But I enjoyed dinner at the Bread Co. What else is there to do? But the thing is now that the students are back, that's not a safe space for me to eat. I don't care if you ban biking on that sidewalk. That's not a safe space. I'm going to be sitting in here. There's going to be somebody inches from me no matter where I am. So
Right.
Unless we shut down that street or do something with that street, that is not a safe space to be sitting and enjoying a mask-free dinner.
Well, they should be following IDPH guidelines because that's part of their permit. So they do need to make their tables so they are distant. I mean, is one of the requirements.
It's on the sidewalk. The sidewalk's not wide enough for all the pedestrian traffic that is going to be using that sidewalk, and then to have a 6-foot space, which is why cities throughout the United States have just shut down their streets and have put people sitting in the streets.
Well, what I'm saying though is part of the requirement, so we might have to revisit their permit, is they were required to have a 5-foot accessible open pathway, and seating away from people with a certain distance. So I mean, they are required to follow the guidelines. So if they're not following the guidelines, we do have to look into that. So.
They probably are, Shannon, but when you get a bunch of people on a sidewalk, they're going to take the available space. I think that's the problem, is it is just a constrained space. And we can't shut Goodwin down. We've got too many buses on that route. But there, you know, we could potentially look at the loading zone there. It's a tough space. That's a tough area to gain more space in.
I believe they already have these seatings extended through the loading zone, so that might not be an option either.
Yeah.
Make it buses only.
Yeah, free up some parking spaces. Okay, any other comments on or questions for Lily, Shannon? Any comments on the plans for the bread company sidewalk? Have you, well, is that the only one that is immediately going to be part of the emergency?
Manolo's around the corner. So basically the blocks can go from Gregory to Goodwin, south down Goodwin, and then back towards Gregory just to give it a boundary. There's not really anything on, I believe that's Nevada, but it just made for an easy way to define a boundary, basically.
Yeah, so any place that's where it's not going to be allowed will require some kind of signage, right?
We do already have existing dismount signs, like the ones in downtown Urbana. And I will just add the caveat, enforcement will be the issue. You will have to catch someone in the act of basically running into a pedestrian and bring the police in. I mean, because they're not going to put a UPD or a university police officer out there to monitor it. So, I mean, we can try our best, but enforcement will be the stumbling block.
I think we realize that, you know, you can't really enforce any of the no riding on sidewalks. You might catch one out of 100 people or something. That isn't effective. The trick is to sign it, make sure it's signed well, and make sure it makes sense to cyclists.
I went out there and looked at it, and because the bread company owner, I'm not sure who it was, sent a very detailed message, and I took it with me and went out there to see if I could reenact what she was experiencing. And some of it I didn't understand. Some of it, she said the bike lane wasn't present. The bike lane is very present there. I took pictures. I shared them with Lily. The one thing I've been trying to figure out is how to direct bicycles to not even get on the sidewalk in the first place. That's the tricky part from the engineering side, is like, where do I try to stop them?
Yeah, did she say if they were northbound or southbound or eastbound?
He said they were coming from the direction of the music building, but I wasn't entirely certain what building that was.
Well, that could be either direction.
There's a big bike parking lot on that corner just to the north. So I suspect people are getting on their bikes there and then zooming down the sidewalk. And so you might try putting a sign at the exits of that bike parking area, Shannon. And I tried to park right by Espresso rather than using that, or across the street, but there's a very big bike parking space there. And, you know, I just say to people, I'm old enough now, I can say, oh, honey, it's not legal to ride on the sidewalk. And no one screamed at me yet because, you know, old lady calling you.
Somebody realized that it is legal there, and they gave them some feedback on that.
Right, yeah, it needs to be illegal, but it's the places where it's illegal, people still do it, of course, and ride in the wrong direction. I do the same thing with them. I say, oh, honey, you're riding the wrong way.
And Shannon and Lily, I've had discussions with the owners of Breadco about trying to figure out a way to, and I fear I'm the ones that encouraged them to contact you. But just in like, yeah, and I agree with whoever said bus only, because that was the only solution I saw. She was very, the one thing was, you know, we need free parking. And I'm like, that's not going to solve this problem. Like, I would love to tell you that free car parking would solve the problem. That would be great if that's really what we were going for here. I'm like, that's not going to solve your problem. And so that honestly, the only solution that I could come up with was, yeah, that it's, that we could do maybe one lane for bus, somehow like buses only, that you would shut that street off for bus bike traffic only or something. I know no other way, but I mean, Espresso Royale, it would be a great, you know, they shut it down for Pygmalion. They put up that big tent. It would be a great place for people to go get coffee, for people to go get to-go food from there. It would be a real economic boon for that whole area if we were able to get some kind of public space out there. And the University of Illinois is going to have a very successful, I think, return to fall. So I think we will be one of the last university standings because of every 4-day spit test that we have, which is going to be fantastic. So I really would love if our Urbana businesses could make some money off of all these people that are coming back and would like to have a cup of coffee outside. It would be fantastic in a safe way. So
I understand completely what you're saying, but I am never going to swing that one past operations because we get so much meter money that pays for so much of the maintenance of that area.
I think that's why that segment still has parking. And I will say, so these are all really amazing ideas. They will say that like those Pygmalion Street Fest were because they were like Friday night to like Saturday night. And so that's going to be something that it's just a challenge. It's not like a bad thing. It's just something that we need to figure out operationally.
Yeah, if you guys think of any specific locations that maybe Lily and Shannon haven't thought of, feel free to send them to them. I mean, I think part of it is you don't want to put up a tent and put a couple of tables in there and they're just not in the right spots and nobody ever sits there. They need to be someplace where people are going to use them. But yeah, if you get any ideas like that, maybe shoot them by Lily and see if they've already considered that.
Thank you, Lily.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
It's helpful to understand how our permit system works.
Yeah, it was done very fast, and we try to tell every business owner, but past that, the outreach was, you know, we made it. We just made it.
And I just want to throw in there real quick with the no end date, that was specifically designed, but we can, as a city, end them at any time. Say we have to go into full lockdown, we can be like, shut it down. Or we can be like, we're extending this for the rest of time. Like we left it open to help the businesses, but also protect the citizens. So.
Yeah, you guys rock.
Okay, the other topic that I wanted to bring up was the bike detection at lights. Let me bring up the page from our master plan, our bicycle master plan. Share that. Do you see that yet?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what's currently in our plan. Talks a little bit about the bike activated stoplights. This is from 2016, and I highlighted in yellow the ones that I think are already they've already either been fixed or in the process of being fixed. All the ones on University Avenue are going to have bicycle detection. And these two, I think, have been done. Race Street at Windsor. I know there's cameras there, and they work sometimes.
Race in Windsor does not find me. And I have a big honking bike.
Do you know, Shannon, is that one supposed to be working?
Is that one on that mast arm camera?
Yeah.
Yes, I've complained several times. I used to complain to Craig, and now I complain to you. Some days it gets me, some days it doesn't. I don't know what, that camera has never consistently worked.
Yeah, I've dead redded that one many times, and that's not good.
I'm going to have to self-admit, I never pay attention to them. I just wait for the light to change. So I'll have to make a concerted effort to actually try them and pay attention, because as a regular cyclist, I just sit there like a goober bopping around waiting for the light turn.
You
You
said
wait, you wait
different
for the car to
cycle?
come up behind you.
Yeah, I usually do. I'm not paying attention, then I realize the light hasn't changed. I'm totally oblivious. So I will have to make a concerted effort to actually try to see and pay attention. So,
Well, I sometimes I lead a ride at 8 o'clock. And so I can't spend 7 minutes waiting for someone to come up behind me early on a Saturday morning.
Then Green at Lincoln, that was done as part of IMCOR, right?
yes,
Okay, so that one's done. So
I believe. I will have to double check now that I said yes, because it's one of those things like you look at your watch and forget what time it is when someone asks you. So I'll double check based on the email you sent me earlier today.
yeah, Race Street, I've heard a lot of complaints about that going north and south, really.
Right.
And then the other one that we hear a lot about is Illinois at Vine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was behind Yusu a couple of days ago, I think. And I saw you go through the red light after waiting.
Yep.
A while. And then when I got up there, I was in the through lane, the left lane, and it recognized my bike. I just had to wait 20 seconds or so, and it changed for me. So it seems kind of hit or miss.
Well, and here's the thing. When it doesn't, when it doesn't change on me 5 times, it's like, well, I'm not going to see if it's going to figure me out in 5 minutes this time because the last 7 times it didn't. It's like, nope, you don't know me.
Yeah, you get habituated to it not working, and then
Right.
you don't wait long.
And I'm good at finding the sweet spot. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'll find the sweet spot. And I know when it hasn't found it. It's like, nope, you didn't see me. Okay.
So there's been some suggestions about maybe painting this sign down here at the bottom. Well, you can kind of see it there. See, it's basically this symbol. Can you see the mouse there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that symbol on the pavement. In this case, it's right on the bike lane, and there is detection in the bike lane there. This looks like Race at Main. And there's also detection in the bike lane on Main Street at Vine.
Race and Main gets me. I know that spot.
Okay, so here's the thing, Bill. I never knew what that signal meant, what that meant. If it did say to request green, wait here, I would actually know that that's what that meant. I always kind of thought, well, I don't know, maybe this is a thing and I'm just going to try to ride on it to see if it does a thing for me. So that's kind of my...
That little sign is actually, that's a separate sign that should be mounted on a pole. That's not what's painted on the ground. Just the little man on the bike is what's painted on the ground. So it's actually 2 separate signages. And I believe nowhere actually has the little man on the bike sign, because there's one that's, I want to say Stadium or St. Mary's and Neil. And there is the painting on the thing, but there's no sign telling you what it means. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the Race Street marking is there anymore on the ground, because I repaved that last year and put the loop back in, but I don't think I put the marking back in.
I think we should just put like a pirate booty X on it. Like you found the pirate booty, and so you would know you got to hit that X, and then you would know, then the light would change for you. Then I would know what was happening. Okay, I know we can't do that. I understand.
Maybe
I'll do that tonight.
Yeah.
So Bill, the next one on the list was Pennsylvania, and that one is really.
Oh my
nasty.
gosh.
Yeah.
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 The other one I run all the time.
So we know that these are on a list, and these priorities are probably pretty close. Illinois, Lincoln, or no, already has a beg button. I would say, I don't know if these numbers are meant to be priorities or if they're just listed.
That one's easy to use. The one at Lincoln.
That one's fairly easy to use because you can reach out and grab it. So I wouldn't have that as a top priority, but definitely Illinois and Pennsylvania at Lincoln.
Right.
Also considered maybe asking Shannon what she thought of actually painting these symbols on areas where they aren't bicycle lanes. Maybe on areas, the sensitive spots of the cars loops that.
They won't survive if it's under car wheel traffic.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Y'all need to take one of my bike classes, because I do instruct people about where to stop to trigger lights. I was teaching my new intern that today as she was riding her borrowed bike with me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if there's, maybe it would help to paint them on there 1 year so people get in the habit of where they are.
Yeah, even if they wear out.
Get worn off. I don't know.
You know, and I would sneak out with my chalk paint. You know, I just.
Well, I'm impressed from this list that we've gotten as many of them as we have. And I think probably because we have done a good job on the others, the ones where we haven't are super frustrating.
Right.
Because we're now used to being treated like regular traffic and when the cars are triggering it, but we never do. It's very frustrating.
I do know on some of our traffic signal cabinets, they're older, and it's in the long range plan of doing a whole traffic signal improvement study. They don't have the switches to add extra loops.
Yeah, I think that's true at Lincoln and Pennsylvania, because when I asked about that, that's what I heard, is that signal is really old.
And I know our city electrician, he was telling me about it. He's going through and seeing what he can do from his side, just because some of the components are so old. And there's back compatibility issues. Like you can go one generation and be back compatible, but if you jump 2-3 generations, they don't go back compatible. So he's fighting that from just the traffic light standpoint. So
yeah.
In Fairview, and there's a bike lane there, isn't there already?
I'm trying to think. I can't remember.
I think there's a bike lane there. That should probably be one that's actually in the bike lane.
Well, Fairview in Lincoln has a button.
Oh, does it?
Yes, because that's the one up by Martin Luther King Elementary School, and it's pretty easy to reach. It's like the one at Illinois in Lincoln.
Oh, okay. So
that one I think is done.
Okay, well, yeah, it doesn't have automatic detection, so we can't say it's done, but it's, I'd say, lower priority. The other one that is done that we did kind of, I don't know if it was part of any plan, it was the Fado Road in Florida. That's another either video or heat detection. That might be heat detection, I think. But that one's automatic. Does anybody have problems with that one?
It has picked me up recently, but I'm not rarely there when there aren't cars, so that's part of the problem.
Right.
If I'm there when there are cars, it's hard for me to know for sure. I know coming back from our bike trip last when we went to Kickapoo, we came through there and it picked us up for a left turn. But I think there were other cars around, maybe not in the left turn lane, but it did pick us up. So that one's not a major source of frustration.
Yeah, that one, I'm there a lot, but there's so much traffic that I rarely have to wait, you know, I just got to wait for a car.
Then, so Shannon, another question, I'm going to take this down. I think we've seen that. Shannon, another question came up was on these video detection systems, are there sweet those too, or those are they supposed to be broad, or they'll pick you up, you know, whether you're in the bike lane or in the traffic lane or what?
There are different kinds, and I'm really racking my brain on this because it's been a while since I looked at the camera system. There's actually, I want to say, 3 different kinds of cameras you can have, and depending on how much money you want to spend, depends on how good they are. Whether you're a bicyclist or a car. I don't know which ones the city has, but like all cameras, in theory, this one they should be wide angle. They should pick up the entire width of the road.
Not.
When the traffic person goes out to adjust those, would it help if a couple of cyclists went out with them and did some, you know?
I would have to ask them how they work, because they're more knowledgeable on exactly where they position, how they're connected. I wouldn't want to just bombard him with a bunch of bicyclists and be like, here, let's experiment right now on the road. So
I think it'd be kind of fun to see how it works if they, you know, if they actually have to kind of do some tuning with it or something, whether it's a loop or the camera. It'd be kind of like a police ride along. Go out and see how the engineering works. You know?
Yes, yes. No, I know on my commute when I think it's 4th Street, and if I'm not out in the middle part of the lane, it won't find me. It won't trip me. But I think that might be in Champaign.
I know a lot of them work on thermal detection. So if you're wearing a lot of clothes, a lot of times you're not going to throw off enough heat to register. So they're not like the loops in the pavement where, like, I have a very wide tube mountain bike. I have no problem triggering a bike loop because it picks up my bike real easy. But I tend to wear like a coat and heavy pants. And so thermal detection, like say it's even the grocery store, I don't tend to set those off. I have to wave around like a baby bird. So it really depends on the type of imagery it's trying to pick up.
But when I'm going Maine and I'm going west, I'm trying to get to Parkland, and I get to 4th Street, and I have to be out in the middle of the lane. And I can do that, but I know that's not what most people intuitively do. They're going to be hunkering to the right, and they're going to wonder why the light doesn't change.
Yeah, that's a Champagne light, so I got nothing on that one.
Yeah, right. That's it. Yeah.
It might be helpful to have, I don't remember seeing like an existing conditions map in our bike plan showing which signals have what kind of detection. It might be helpful to kind of put one of those together, whether it's or just a list. And then at least when people on a regular commute that always go through the same intersection have a question on one of our bicycle lists, we can look it up and say, oh, that's a thermal detection. You need to, do this.
Yes.
Or that's a loop detection. You need to find the sweet spot, or, at least be able to tell them what the intersection is. I think that might help.
Right. Like, let the nerds be nerds.
And Bill, I recently just did for the Urbana Amble, I made my first Google map, which was you just took an Excel sheet. I know, like everyone knows this except for me, because maps, I don't like maps. I don't want to say I don't like maps. They're not my native tongue. But basically I had my Excel sheet of the names of the 50 people who participated and, the names of their gardens and their location. And then you just upload it to Google, and then there it was. And I actually think, I wonder if that's something like, that BPAC is that we could not put this together for people. Because Shannon, I am completely fascinated with this idea that there's 3 different types of triggers. And I kind of am like you, Shannon. I just am like, I don't know, maybe this will trigger a light, maybe it won't. I'm just going to go over and kick the light. I don't know. I kind of get, I just am like, but it would be nice if there was a system that I was following. It would probably make me like, it's like we would be less rule breakers as cyclists as well. But
there's a program, one of the planners, Kevin Garcia, turned me on to, if you have like a GoPro or something, like a bike mounted camera, it's called Maply. And basically you turn your camera on and then you upload your data to this program, and it actually maps routes. Yeah, Lily knows what it is. It's super fun to play with. I've been trying to get my knockoff GoPro, let's just call it that, to work with it. So it can pick up like street signs. I mean, it's very intuitive. Like you just like strap that camera to your head and ride, and it helps map the city and see what the cyclists see, help you do routes. So I mean, that might actually be something we could all play with from a cyclist standpoint.
So it's like creating your own Google Street View or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for trails and everything. And there's always too, I have a couple of DIY video recorders and some Raspberry Pis. So if anybody from BPAC wants to help make a bicycle detection sensor, let me know. Weekend project, think about it.
I don't know what you mean by that, Lily. Make a bicycle. What are you talking about? Make a bicycle detection.
Oh, like taking one of those little computers in a video and everything, and then in AI, like a basic AI thing that one would hope was already made. What?
So basically a pop-up bicycle detection?
Well, maybe we could like mount it to something, but yeah, a pop-up video bicycle detection thing.
Let's talk.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Weekend projects. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, any other suggestions or questions on that? see what's left on our agenda. Just the only thing I wanted to mention, I mean, we still have the old draft version of Vision Zero. We just need to get back together and figure out when council can approve it. But they did approve the pedestrian master plan, which makes a couple of references to Vision Zero. Basically, since they adopted the pedestrian master plan, they're already agreeing that they're going to agree with Vision Zero. It's kind of made another step in the commitment process, you know. So I think that at least we'll be able to include that in the new Vision Zero resolution, is that was one of the things that they've already approved that lists Vision Zero. So that's one step forward, I think. And then they also approved the wayfinding plan, I think without any debate. I wasn't here for that. I was out of town. So that's really the only thing I wanted to mention today. I mean, I was going to try to get something together over the weekend, but it was unrealistic. And I think we had enough to discuss tonight. So any announcements?
Sartak, you want to announce Light the Night, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. You can do it. I mean, last couple of weeks we've been talking and we want to plan for September 24th as Light the Night event. We being University of Illinois and MTD. City of Urbana and City of Champaign have said that they do not want to participate in a mass distribution event. And same thing with the bike project as well, that they do not want to participate, but they are going to support the event. So for Urbana and Champaign, they're supporting us financially. And if we, for some reason, we cannot hold the event on September 24th, then we'll look for a plan B as to like, how do we distribute these lights? One of the things that we discussed was just having it located, like having the bike registration tag pickup locations. The registration tags are shields. The shield pickup locations have these Light the Night lights, and when somebody comes to pick up the shield, they'll collect the light as well, or having it at the campus bike center or places like that. So yeah, that's the current plan, that we want to hold the event on September 24th. We will have a plan which we will take to the Public Health District and the EOFI COVID Steering Committee. And once they approve it, we'll see how to actually go through with it. Cynthia,
I was going to say the lights that the bike project has ordered in the past are not available. So all of the lights will be the silicone wrap light sets. And so we won't need any tools or any training. You don't have to have any training to stick one set of those on a bike. So the distribution should be pretty quick, pretty simple. We can recruit students to help do the installation. And we'll set it up so that there are people we space people out as they're waiting. We'll mark on the sidewalks and have someone send people in, and everybody has to have a mask. Students are going to be, by September 24th, used to having masks. But we can have a few, and have hand sanitizer and all of the things that we need to do. So I think we can hold this event among events that you could do. This one is a fairly simple one to do safely outside, and you can put into practice all the things that you need to do to keep everybody safe. We're concerned that there may be more people biking this year, and so the MTD in particular wants to see as many bike lights out there as possible, because students don't even know that they're supposed to have bike lights a lot of the time. And they're wearing black because that doesn't show dirt. I wear black too. And we cannot see them, especially as we get older. So we want to try and get a bunch of lights out.
I would like to say, and I'm not sure if either, there's a possibility that there might be a socially distanced bike ride called the Urbana Moonlight Meander overnight bike ride. It would happen over Labor Day weekend, the Friday of Labor Day weekend, starting at 8 p.m. and go till 8 a.m. It would be a very simple fixed route that would take about an hour if you want to do just one loop. So that would be really great if we had lights and if people had the ability to get lights. I've so far got a couple connections of people that would get lights. People would be using their own bathrooms. They'll be getting their own houses for food or their dorms or wherever they're coming from. There will not be a mass of people biking together. You would just sign up to do it on your own, and hopefully we would be encouraging the buddy system. So there's a possibility this will happen, but so I don't know if anyone has light ideas for that. I've had people volunteer to give me lights that we could have at the HQ. Every time you complete a loop, you'll get some Mardi Gras beads. So we were going to have maybe a table with just like free lights. I have extra lights in my house that I always try to give people. So I just want to know that might happen. I can't 100% guarantee that'll happen, but I just want to share that with everyone.
You said that was Friday of Labor Day weekend? So that's like
Right.
or something.
Friday, Saturday.
It would start, and so it would start, the HQ would be at the Common Ground Co-op front porch. So it would just end, people could have breakfast at the farmer's market the following morning at 8 a.m. And obviously masks would be required when interacting with other riders. All lights and other safety measures would be required. There would be a free sign up. You would sign up the name of your bike. So it would be like you'd name your bike. Obviously, we'd want cell phone numbers. We want to know, are you doing 1 loop, 2 loop, 3 loop? You know, how many loops do you think you're going to do? And kind of keep track of people. But it would be, you know, it would be free. There would be no like, you know, ride at your own risk, all that other stuff. But yeah, so there's just a possibility that that will happen. And it's just kind of a fun way to mark the end of summer.
The loops would be, did you talk about doing a loop to St. Joe? Or
that's a possibility. I'm just worried personally, like basically Research Park, First Street, like Meadowbrook Park, Riggs, like something around like really safe, really simple. I think for extra credit, I'm just worried about people heading out on Main Street. That really concerns me. Like people who have not biked before heading out to Main Street and then heading out to St. Joe's, and let's say they're by themselves, like they're going to be like, it's a little scary. Let's say you've just moved here from Chicago and you're like, I bike all the time. And then you're like pitch black halfway between, you know, here and there.
You hear the coyotes call.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's a little scary. Imagine you're like a freshman, you thought it was a good idea. So basically I think I had a nice discussion today with with someone who has connections with like the more fast riders, people who would like to do this quickly. This would not be a quick ride, but if people want to do it quickly, I think for extra credit, you go out on the KRT and you come back. Like that just is part of the ride for those people that. But Sue, I would be working with Sue on the route. Yeah, just a really simple 45-minute loop, really not fast, just very simple and slow, like Meadowbrook Park, like really a meander. So you could do, let's say you wanted to do 1 loop and then everyone goes to, you know, like let's say you have kids and you just want to do one from 8 to 9 and then just go to bed, get your Mardi Gras beads, go to bed. So again, just a possibility. There's some other things going on in the organizer's life, mine, that might slow it down, but I feel like I've got a lot of the parts and pieces in place, and it's not a race. It's just like a fun thing for people to do. So we'll just let you know if it happens. I pretty much need 12 volunteers, 1 person. I need like 1 or 2 people, like let's say like if you're in a COVID bubble with somebody, the 2 of you could sit on the co-op porch for an hour and hand out beads, and we'll have like a big board and stuff. But anyway, just letting people know. But yeah, so if you're doing the light the night thing, that's just something.
Great, thanks. And I'm really glad you guys are doing the light the night. I'd hate to see that get pushed aside just because of COVID. Just because of a worldwide epidemic.
Yeah, just this.
Any,
Well,
any
and
other announcements?
I was going to quickly say, we just to report back to everybody, we were able to run our Earn a Bite program this summer with Don Moyer, and we had 6 students, and it was a very successful program. We did everything outside, and we had a lot of fun with the kids. And we did have to delay by one day because one day was super stormy. That's the first time that's actually happened to us. So the last day, only 3 of the kids could make it because that wasn't originally part of the program. And Jeff took the kids out on the Kickapoo Trail to St. Joe and back. So, you know, that's a big ride for kids that haven't done a lot of riding. And you can see pictures on the Safe Routes to School website. And I don't remember if I shared it on the Champaign-Urbana Bicyclists Facebook page. It's also there. And so it was a lot of fun and nobody got sick. We used their COVID plan and it went really well. And thank you to the volunteers who came and helped us, especially the day we were putting the bikes together.
You said 6 kids are
Yeah, we had 6 students. They're all teens that do this. The teens were not there during the daytime because of their COVID plan. They only have elementary school students there. So the teens were doing virtual stuff during the day, and then they go to the club like 5 to 7. But you know, we can't do biking with them from 5 to 7. They're too hungry. So we did 2 to 4. And yeah, you don't want hungry teenagers in your class. So.
cool. Any other?
Yeah.
I have one more thing, Bill.
Yeah.
The Park District is going to be applying for an ITEP grant this cycle, which is the grant that got us the path on the south side of Crystal Lake Park. And with that Park Street path, we paid for prelim engineering from the corner of Park and Broadway north and a pedestrian and bicycle bridge over the saline. And so I was wondering if it would be appropriate for me to provide a little info at some point and ask for a letter of support from BPAC for the grant.
Sure. Did you want to do like a formal agenda item next month or?
It's up to you. I can just show a map of like where the prelim engineering drawings are and maybe like a Park District Trails plan page or something.
Okay, I think we're pretty familiar with that. We've talked about that a little bit before, but yeah, if you could kind of remind us. And I'm sure there will be questions about the destruction going on in the park.
Yeah, lots happening there.
It's looking pretty amazing. Looks a lot different. You can see clear across the lake and everything. If you guys haven't been out there,
yeah,
going for a walk out there and starting to imagine what it's going to look like when it's done. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
5+ years in the making as far as that particular planning objective, but as much as we created renderings and tried to explain that it would be more open, I don't think that anyone could really be prepared to see how it looks now.
I'm looking forward to being able to get to the lake for a change.
Yeah, right now it's very, I mean, destruction is a good word for it, but rest assured that there's lots of good things coming back, including things that are going to improve habitat, water quality, air quality, you know, everything.
Yep. Any other announcements, or should we move on to future topics?
I just have one thing to add. As I said, the Shield pickup locations for the bike registration tags, 5 of them are, well, 3 of them are open right now. 2 more are going to be open. So which ones are open? So the campus public safety building, the campus police building on Springfield and Goodwin, that's one location. The other locations that are currently open are Savoy Rec Center and Neutral Cycle. We have also collaborated with Leonard Rec Center, and they will be handing out the shields from next week onwards. And Campus Bike Center, they have moved, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew about that. So they have moved to First Street now. Sorry, not First Street. Gregory Drive. It's on, when you go, what is it? Is it west? So north? Yeah, west of First and Gregory. It's right opposite to the printing building. That will be the new location for Campus Bike Center. They'll open on August 24th, so next week. And right now their plan is to have visitation only by call-in or making appointments ahead.
So just north of the tennis courts there?
What?
That's just north of the tennis courts?
Yes.
Okay.
North of the tennis courts? No, west of the tennis courts, right in between tennis court and the basketball court. North of the football, like soccer fields.
Okay.
Yeah. And Campus Bike Center is the 5th location that will be open next week. We have reached out to MTD for Illinois Terminal. They were very interested, but I haven't heard from them in the last 10 days. So I'll reach out to them again just to make sure that, because Illinois Terminal would be a very good spot for like shield pickup.
I didn't hear any Urbana locations.
For Urbana, I had been in talks with Lily, but Lily said that the city building is not operating right now. So once the situation gets better, we will have a pickup location at the city building in Urbana. City of Champaign, they had said a similar thing, but I did not feel very optimistic from their response about a pickup location at City of Champaign.
I guess I was trying to think the Urbana side of campus, CERT's going to be used for COVID testing, so that won't be open, but ARC, I guess maybe.
So I have reached out to all of those. I have reached out to Illini Union and the bookstore as well, but they already have a lot of added tasks to their workload. And it's just, we don't want to add another thing and another human contact.
Did you talk to Urbana Park District, maybe Phillips Recreation Center?
I think Stacy had reached out to Urbana Park Districts as well, but she had not heard back from them.
Okay.
So because we really want to have as many as possible, so that anyone from the community can get these bike registration tags.
I have a question. How do I get a tag? And like, what do I have to sign up? Do I send an email?
There is a.
Wait, I have a two-part question. And is there a way or three-part actually? Can we share it on social media so to inform everybody about how to do this? And then my next question would just be the library, the Urbana Free Library. Would it be possible to pick one up there? There. That's it. I'm done.
Okay. So right now we have not started promoting it.
Okay.
Yet. There will be a news release going in first week of September, just because we want the students to be back before we actually start the actual promoting. Even though we haven't actually promoted anything, I have had almost 80 has been in August itself. So about 100 registrations already without any promotions. And I think 5 of them are staff people and 1 resident from City of Urbana. So we are getting a lot of registrations. For registration, all you have to do is go to bike.illinois.edu. and on the Bike at Illinois website, there is a register your bike link. Just click on that, and there's like, I have a whole bunch of like the steps for registering your bicycle. It's all listed over there. Basically, I think we have discussed this with this group as well, that there is going to be a $10 one-time registration fee, and that gets you the shield, and there are some other benefits which again, like, you'll be able to see on the website. There's only one location where I have actually put the bike registration information on. That's the Bike at Illinois website, and there is a short URL as well, which is go.illinois.edu/mybike. And again, go.illinois.edu/mybike will take you to the register your bike page on Bike at Illinois. So again, like, there are steps that are listed on this website. On this webpage, I've also listed all the locations that I have heard from who want to be a part of the Shield pickup locations. And I have listed the address, phone numbers, and if they're open or they're closed or when they'll be open. So there is a lot of information on that web page. You start off with paying the $10 registration fee, and from the confirmation email that you get for like following the payment, in the confirmation email itself, there is a link to actually go to the registration page to register.
Okay. So we can go ahead and start sharing that then on social media, the Bike Illinois.
I would wait for the news release though.
Okay.
Once the news release is on, I'll aggressively promote it, like on social media that we have, and a lot of like, I'll utilize BPAC as well a lot for that. Yeah. But I just want to wait for the news release to actually go ahead first.
Okay. Yeah. I think the Urbana Free Library is a great idea. I know that's a location I see in the police reports quite a bit for stolen.
Who should I talk to if I want to?
Celeste Choate, the librarian. I can send you her email, and she can put you.
Unmuted. Could you send me their email address or and their contact information? I'll reach out to them.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
This is mostly, I was thinking because of COVID time, but was there any consideration to mailing these to people? Like, you know, they don't want to come to their Urbana Free Library. They don't want to go to some campus building where there's a bunch of nerdy students. I mean.
Yeah. No, so I personally, like, we did not discuss the mail-in option. And I can talk to Stacy about this, that like we can think about it. But if there is somebody who actually just does not want to go on campus, Stacy and we have some additional shields with us, and we offer it, like, if there is a location where they feel comfortable, we can meet over there and hand them the shield.
Could you do that, or have somebody help do that at Light the Night?
We would definitely do that during Light the Night event. Like, there will be, like, we will be telling people to register their bicycles, and I'm not sure if I'll have the stickers at that location, because I don't think I want to keep a lot of students at one location, like you know, like at the Light the Night event location for 5-10 minutes even.
Yeah, I just keep them moving.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
So that's the, so if you guys want to register your bicycle with the university system, you can definitely do that. But for promoting the registration, I will get to you guys. I will reach out to you, but we will do that most likely in the first week of September. We'll start doing that in the first week of September.
Okay. Any other announcements, future topics? Future topics, we currently have bicycle-friendly community report card. Shannon is going to do something on how we could improve that, where we were weak and things like that. Truck parking on the street, that's kind of an enforcement issue. I don't know if we had somebody assigned to talk about that, but if anybody wants to volunteer, they could. And we took care of the Curbana alternative, kind of. I don't know, did we ever, now I don't want to go back to it, it's 9 o'clock, but I never heard whether there's a plan to replace those. It sounds like there's probably not a plan to replace them with the same thing because they didn't hold up very well. So yeah, still need to figure out something for that. Other future topics? Nothing today? Okay, you can send it in if you think of it.
And I'm just gonna say on the Curbanas, I have been trying to look at other cities, and a lot of what I'm finding is they're not really taking accessibility into account. They're really very ableist. They're stepping down off curbs. They're in between things. And so I'm really trying to find an option where they're accessible to everyone, even if, like, say we can't put a platform like the Curbanas. So I'm trying to find if someone else has solved this problem for me, because I don't have a lot of time to design it myself. So if anybody sees anything that's very accessible, send it my way, because I've been trying to find something.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Shannon, is like all those parking spots are accessible. They're considered ADA accessible, but then if you put a chair there, then they're suddenly not considered accessible. So I think that's kind of funny.
It might, like...
It's because you can step out onto the curb from the car.
Yeah. For like Crane Alley, I'd be less worried about because they have seating, you know, in the alley that's accessible. So adding some additional that wasn't accessible wouldn't concern me, but I guess in other places where it would be the only seating would be a major issue. So I'm not sure if how the ADA relates to that. Maybe it requires any additional seating to be accessible.
I did actually, I reached out to, I can't remember which organization, about how, because they shared a bunch of like kind of Curbana-like things without the platform, how they tackled accessibility. And they gave me a very vague non-answerable, just find a way. I'm like, that was not helpful, thanks. So.
I mean, it sounds like, Shannon, you'd have to blow out the curb. You'd have to get rid of the curb and make it a slope to make a parking spot on the street accessible.
But then I got to worry about the rest of the curb and or the sidewalk and making that ADA friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused because they were completely accessible from the sidewalk. They were totally flat with the sidewalk, and so they are entirely accessible.
The old ones were, yeah.
But if I went with something that's not a platform where we have to worry about building it every year,
right?
All the ones I'm seeing on the internet use the existing asphalt surface, which is a step down.
Right.
Okay. It's after 9, so I think we should adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
Everyone, see you next month and offer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.